It will be scary. And no, it's not La Biggie, else they would have marketed it as the highest driving road in Trinidad, right? I will tell you where we're going in a bit. But first, I have to welcome all my Triple E drivers and all my new drivers. How are you doing? Let me go. Okay, where we there? We on Silica Road heading north to the eastern main road. All here was once part of Fort Rd. If you want to know a bit more about Fort Rd and Wallerfield, check this previous video bio or banner. That's Hindi for brothers and sisters if you didn't know. We are on the eastern main road heading westerly. Fish vendors on the left. And a beautiful pink fruit tree in bloom ahead. Right, as we said, we go into the highest driving point in East Trinidad. I show plenty of all you didn't know where this place is. On the right is the Arima Livestock Center, part of UTT, where they do research on cattle, sheep, goats, rabbits, and buffalo. You can see water buffaloes in the field. More pink tree trees. Keep a lookout as they are in bloom this time of the year. Okay, we are turning into the Arima Bypass Road now. Okay, I wouldn't keep you in suspense anymore. We are headed to Lalaja South Road or Lalaja Road South, which is about 8 kilometers from here, off the Blanchisseuse Road. As we can see here from Google Earth, Lavigi Lookout in Parman is at an altitude of 638 meters. And the Briganil Lighthouse is about 180 meters. Let's see how high the road can get up to on this trip. We are now on the Blanchisseuse Road. The Arima Bypass Road merges with this road. That is a very steep road on the left. First People's Reserve Road. That's a nice colored tree on the right. Doing some adjust on the camera as usual. Right, here we go again. Another beautiful poetry in bloom. Colonial design bridge railings, not properly maintained. All the streams look dry at this time of the year. Those Ganeshas or elephants look really lovely. A shower of fallen pink pui flowers. The Mont Bleu TSTT Tower can be seen in the distant left. Okay folks, I have activated the GPS data showing coordinates and elevation. Okay folks, we have arrived at Lalaja Road. It's at an elevation of about 280 meters. Okay, and already we are at the first hairpin turn. The back tires skidded as there was no weight on the tree. Or they may be a bit worn. So, a caveat on the GPS reading. The tree cover would have an impact on the accuracy of the reading. It is more accurate when satellite data isn't blocked by the trees. So if you see the height going down when we are actually ascending, don't worry, it's just adjusting itself. At this point, if you look carefully, you can see something floating down, fluff from the cacao tree. I call it buffalo. And all my childhood pillows were stuffed with this fluff. There are a few farmers who still frequent this road. That metal clunk was scary. Another sharp corner. I found a slaty cap flycatcher nesting on this stone wall. I took that picture here in 2017. Let's navigate around this tiered hairpin bend. Right. I'm going to read an excerpt from a Newsday Report dated 29 August 2021. The report describes the early settlers to this area. Simeon Lopez was the son of a Venezuelan migrant and a Carib woman. One of the indigenous tribes which lived in the hills of the northern range. Simeon Lopez died in 1990 at the age of 91. He was a father of 23 children with 2 women. Jean Lopez, who died at 87, and Zita Quintero, 94, whose memory is still vivid of the early years. Simeon, also known as Bisco, was one of the early estate owners. Along the Lalaja South Branch Road, about 10 kilometers from the borough of Arima, on the Blanchisseuse main road. Lalaja's name is Spanish in origin and translates to the slab. Lalaja is favored by hikers, naturalists, and bird watchers. Trails lead to this country's highest peak, El Cerro de la Ripo, to breathtaking waterfalls such as Lalaja and Sambasan. Here is our 4th hairpin bend. Okay, back to the report. Hikers can climb over mountain ridges to get to Paria, Brazo Seco, Mont Blanc, the Guanapo Gorges, and many other untouched natural beauties in the northern range. Two weeks ago. Now remember, this report was in August 2021. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, a convoy of about 15 high-end SUVs carrying Arima's MP, Penelope Beckles, the Minister of Housing, Lupino Bonaire West, MP Marvin Gonzalez, the Minister of Public Utilities, and a host of technocrats and supporting staff visited the community, promising estate owners the dream of a pipe-borne water supply and solar panels for power. This is the 5th hairpin bend, but had to be extra careful here. Okay, back to the report. The closest the estate owners ever came to government support was during the tenure of then Prime Minister Patrick Mannion, 2001 to 2010. Now this is a Newsday newspaper report, not my words. As he shared a close relationship with Lalaja's most infamous estate owner, the Prime Minister's spiritual advisor. Estate owners said it was the first time in decades that a section of the almost impassable road was paved, and there was a regular road maintenance crew to swipe away the roadside bush, remove fallen trees and clean the drains. All that is gone now. Okay, back to the report. In the last 2 decades, the majority of estate owners have given up, selling their property to ease a right for a pittance, the report states. Those who remain are buoyed by the promise of the Arima MP to rebuild the access road so that they can take their produce to market. 2 decades ago, and that would be in 2001, the media reported on the challenges of the estate owners. Their main complaint was the extremely poor condition of the road, lack of water and electricity. Today in 2021, the cry for help is still the same, and still is in 2026, it would seem. Last Wednesday, a Sunday Newsday team went as far into the community as the 4x4 pickup would take them. Navigating the road as an experienced driver on a hot sunny day was a challenge, especially at the sharp corners, eroded narrow gravel roadways and dangerous precipices on the right. We are nearing the 500-meter mark. Okay, back to the report. On the one-way trip, it takes close to an hour to reach Samuel River and the rugged road leading to the El Cerro del Aripo Trail. Okay, back to the report. Now, Simeon had 2 homes, one in Arima, which he shared with Jane and their children, and a tapia house at Lalaja, which he shared with Zita and her children. Felipe Lopez recalled in the early 1950s her father bought an estate in Lalaja and planted fields of cocoa, coffee and other mixed crops. The road was a mud trap accessible by foot, and donkeys carried the produce out to the main road. She said she did not spend much time in the estate, as she stayed home to take care of her 3 boys and 8 girls. Unknown to her mother, Zita moved in with Simeon in the tapia hut, that is. She was 25 years younger than him, and she worked on the estate. People in the community referred to Zita as the Amazon woman because of her sheer strength. She bore 12 children for Simeon, 8 boys and 4 girls, and later bought her own 10-acre estate for $100 along Lalaja Branch Road, where she built her own home, a retreat for any lost soul, where they will be welcomed with a steaming cup of homemade coffee, a warm meal, and a place to rest their head. We pause to have a look at the Arima Valley in the distance. Yes, Zita longs to return but cannot because of the bad road and a leg injury. Other farmers who refuse to give up are hopeful of the promises by the Arima MP, as the cost to take the produce out for sale is not economical. They welcome the news of solar energy and water, and will be most grateful if the roads can be repaired so they can retire in peace with their children in the forests of Lalaja. On this hairpin turn, I had to reverse as there was a deep trench in the road. So that was a Newsday newspaper report from 2021. We are nearing 550 meters elevation. Powies can be seen here. They feed silently overhead. The 10th and final hairpin. The 10th and final hairpin turn. As you can see, a lot of the infrastructure was put into the area at some time. And somewhere around here is the highest point. Before we start the descent. Let's see what the elevation is. It's around 583 meters, give or take a few meters for errors. Still lower than the 638 meters Google Earth has for La Vigie. I will verify when I go up there. We have now started to descend into the valley. Okay, here I had to get out to check where to put the wheels, as there was a very sharp drop in the road. I also adjusted the camera a bit. And slowly and carefully descended. As I said, I was quote-unquote alone on this trip. And if anything happened, it was a long walk to get help. The roads had lots of deep trenches in it. Right, we can now dispense with the GPS as we got the elevation. This resident said that the road is in this condition ever since they dug up the road to lay water pipes. This was a few years ago. So some work was done. Residents made the down payment to get the water supply, but up to this date, there is no water in the pipes. He also advised that the bridge ahead is suspect, and he does not advise me to cross with the vehicle. Right, let's push on to see how far we can go. Okay, had to do some camera maintenance. Let's push on. Ah, the bridge is ahead. Yes, that is where we will stop. I'll park here and have a look at the bridge. As you can see, it's in poor condition. And that's it, folks. Glad you could be my company on this trip. As I said, do not attempt this trip unless you are an experienced driver, you have a 4x4, and you have a convoy of vehicles to assist you in case of trouble. But don't forget to like and subscribe if you need to. Until the next vlog, bye for now.